Good evening. Starting what I'm hoping to be a super quick brew day or brew night here on my Anvil Foundry 6.5. One of the reasons I was interested in getting the system is that it's a good size for doing some quick steep grains extract batches, and that's what I'm doing here tonight. I found a super simple George Washington pre-Prohibition porter recipe on Adventures in Homebrewing, and we're going to brew that up here tonight. And right about, I set the temperature here for 155 for the steeping grains. The grains have been in, we've hit the temperature. You can see the grains themselves are not fully submerged, so I'll fix that here in a second. I'm just going to probably just let them drop to the bottom and go for the 20 minutes the recipe calls for. I put in about, it was 3 gallons of water originally. I'm not going to do full volume boil or anything like that, because that's part of the idea of having a smaller system and doing some quicker batches. So we'll see how this turns out. Check back in later. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes here with the grains steeping here in the anvil here. So next step right now is we'll pull those grains. I'm gonna change things up a little bit, I guess, based on the instructions. I'm just gonna pull the grains and have a little strainer basket here. If you can kind of see here, I have a strainer basket. I'm going to put that up, and I'm going to run probably a gallon of water over the grains themselves, and go from there. And we'll go to boil. The one other thing I'll add with this plan here tonight is that I'm going to be going no chill with this brew. So instead of, it calls for a 60-minute boil, which seems to be much, but I'm going to do a 40-minute and do no chill. And the plan is to boil some additional water to get the full 5 gallons into the cube here tonight, and I'll leave it and put it to one side. And I'll pitch the yeast here tomorrow sometime when I get my other fermenter cleaned up, because I have a beer in there that I'm planning on kegging. And here we are, everything's sparged down. Here's the grain bag. I do have a bowl underneath there, so if I get anything else dripping from here, we'll just add it to our kettle here, our wort, and we'll go from here. So now with the additional gallon of cold water, we're at 150. So again, volume-wise, I'm not sure what they're based the recipe on. They gave me an ounce of hops to add here, an ounce of cluster to add at 60 minutes. Since the volumes are going to be different, I know the hop utilization is going to be somewhat different as well. So, like I said, 40-minute boil into the cube. It ends up being a little more bitter. I think I'll be fine with that. So, we'll check back in later. Okay, coming up on the boil here. Got my hop spider in. Yeah, we got a little bit of boil action going. This screen here, the display is telling me we're at 204. But then, it's boiling up a little bit. So we could probably start the timer here if we wanted to. I already put the hop spider in because I've already added some of the extract that came with the recipe, probably about 40% of it. The recipe called for 0.75 pounds of molasses. All due respect to the pre-efficient people, I'm not putting that kind of molasses in my beer, so I'm going to change it up and add a pound of dark brown sugar. So there is going to be some molasses in there, and yeah, you can see the boil is chugging along pretty good here. We're at the break and everything, so I'm probably going to start the timer with this volume, even though the display is showing 205. Probably should just start the timer and go from there. But as I said, the molasses out, dark brown sugar's in, which gives a nice dark sugary flavor anyway. Dark molassesy flavor, which should do nicely with the brew. And we'll get the hops in and start the timer. Alright, timer is set. Adding the cluster, which is the only hop addition. Smelling them, very low in the hop aroma department. Since they're a classic American bittering addition, not too surprised. First time I've ever used this hop. Normally wouldn't pick the hop if it wasn't just in the recipe. So the boil is going. Okay, about halfway through our 40-minute boil here. Nothing exciting going on, really. Typical boil action. Okay, standing right under the fan here. So yeah, it's probably, what are we showing now? We're showing 208. I just put the power back down to 80%. I added the brown sugar and the rest of the malt extract, which dropped the temperature down to 200 at 199. So I just, I guess paused the timer, so to speak. I just reset the timer. I'm going to go another 10 minutes here. I don't know if I caught it, but we did have another kind of mini hot break there, I guess, with the rest of the LME. And if you can kind of see in the hop spider, yeah, it looks like that's got some good break going here. So what I'm going to do is put the hop spider on the bottom of the pot and get it on the side to get a little bit of boil up. Again, I've been adding the extract and the sugar into the hop spider to try to avoid it going straight to the bottom of the boiler and scorching at the bottom. There is a little bit of method of what I'm trying to do here. That's the one thing I might as well add as I'm waiting the countdown here. Whoa. Camlocks, I converted the spigot, the end of the spigot to cam locks. Got a bunch of cam lock hoses and everything else ready to go. Probably going to need to modify some of the hoses, because really the majority of the hoses that I have were intended for a 3-vessel system that I no longer use. Right now I have my Anvil, I'm thinking, is my small batch extract system, and I have a 15 and a half gallon pot that I made into an electric brew-to-bag system. Videos are on the channel, but that system I'm soon going to resurrect. Again, that's the primary use of these cam locks right now. Alright, so decided to add a little bit more water, get the volume up to about 5 gallons, close to it. Went to another hot break, basically. So timer is just about to strike. For the last 5, I basically added water, got it up to temp, set it for another 5. So yeah, the timer's telling me that that's 5 minutes is up. Let's kill the temp. Off. There you go. Have the hose going into my hot cube here. And I will start the transfer. Go nice and slow. Oh well, that didn't go quite as planned. I shut the video off, and I threw a bunch of water into the pot to top up, and I had my valve left open, and pour water in the kettle. The water went right in the kettle and went right in the cube. So I got my 5 gallons all right, based on temperature reading of the cube itself. What are we at here? Maybe you can see 174 on the outside. So I don't think I have anything too much to worry about. And it's the next day. Good afternoon, folks. Good afternoon. It's the next day. We have our porter here in the fermenter. Just waiting to pitch the yeast. Here we are with the porter in the fermenter, just waiting to pitch the yeast. I got the tilt in there. Actually didn't even take a reading. Tilt's telling me 1060. My tilt is calibrated a little, or is usually a couple points off, which was pretty much what the previous fermentation was, and I just pitched it in. I have a vitality starter going here. That's what I decided to do today. The recipe recommended a bunch of different Kolsch yeasts. Just recently finished a Kolsch probably a couple weeks ago. Kept the slurry and did a vitality starter through probably 100 or 200 milliliters of the slurry in there. There's quite a bit of trub in this slurry, so that's probably why I went a bit heavy-handed with it. And I got some my pre-canned starter wort in there. Put in about 24 ounces of that, and I did boil a tiny bit of water in there as well to kind of sanitize the flask and to kind of thin out my starter from 1040 a little bit. But yeah, it's chugging right along. It's the vitality starter. It's been going about 3.5 hours. Once we hit 4 hours or so, I'm going to pitch that whole thing into the porter so I get my volume, and then I will record my gravity over here and call it a brew day.